Hi, everyone. I think we're streaming now. Getting a few things set up on the stage, inviting a few more people up here, and we'll be starting momentarily. Welcome. We're going to have a fun time today, so glad you could join us.
Hello.
Hello, hello. All right, looking for Peter and Rob. All right. I think we'll have quite a few. It's going to be a fun session today.
Hello, everybody. Good morning.
All right, I don't see Mr. Cameron nor Mr. Pistorius yet. We'll get them up here shortly. I see your green screen actually is green, Tom.
I'm in the green room. Yeah, this is the problem when I use Zoom. It's easy to put on my sweet Batcave background, but when we do it over the browser, I have to use. It has to go through OBS, and the green screen technology in OBS is not as good, and so I don't
just
even
not the same.
Don't even bother. Just you get to live in my green screen. That's how it is.
I do miss the Batcave. You haven't Batcaved in a while.
I know. I'm not usually in San Francisco anymore. We're down here for a day or two. So I'm in my green screen room, and the window is broken and it won't open, and it's like it's got to be at least 85 degrees in here. Maybe more. It's getting warm. It's basically a greenhouse. It's the green room and it's the greenhouse right now.
Well, I'll keep a lookout. If you see, I don't know if you can invite them, but let me know if you see Rob and Peter. We'll get them up on stage when they log in. And I think we'll just get going. So welcome, everyone. This is, I don't know how many rounds we're in on RedwoodJS Meetups. They feel new, but it's quarantine time. So maybe it's been like 10 years since we've been doing this. If it's your first time to come to a Meetup, welcome. My name is David Price. I'm a part of the core team at RedwoodJS, as is Tom Preston Warner, Peter Pistorius, and Rob Cameron will be joining us as well. And we are just a small part of what's become a really large team and community. There's Peter. We'll get him up here. Large community around Redwood. I wanted to provide a few updates as we get started around what happened in October. We participated all the RedwoodJS repos in Hacktoberfest, and we had 27 new contributors across all the different projects for Redwood, which was just amazing. I think we closed, and not all of these were merged, but I think we closed it was over 100 PRs, but a lot of those are from Dependabot, because Dependabot's crazy. So we easily closed over 50 PRs that were initiated by individuals across all of our projects in October, which meant we were really busy, and it was a lot of fun. So we have 144 individual contributors to code in Redwood since it started in March, which is also fantastic. And then there's an even larger community. So if you have not joined, if someone pastes the links as well, if you have not joined Redwood in the forums or Redwood Discord, please do. It's a really vibrant community and everyone is welcome. We just love to have people participating. And everyone that's going to be showing an application that they've demonstrated today met us. We all met each other and became friends and started collaborating together on the forums or in Discord. That's how community happens. So we'd welcome you all. Oh, Rob, I've got you. We'd welcome you all to participate there as well. A couple things about this meeting, then I'll hand it off to Rob for today, how this is going to work. This is the stage area. Peter, oh, haircut, Peter.
Nice haircut.
I got a haircut. I'm human again.
Peter, yeah, looking great. And Rob Cameron. I'll let you both introduce. Well, Tom's going to introduce himself in a second, but I'll let you both introduce yourself. Who are you, and where are you?
Can Tom go first? Because I want to copy him. He's so eloquent.
No, he's supposed to go then because he talks about Redwood.
I'm going last.
Then he hands it off to Aldo. Yeah, Tom goes last.
Rob, I'll copy you then.
Copy me? Oh boy.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me? Is this working?
Yes.
I'm Rob Cameron. I'm Canakin on GitHub and elsewhere. Been working on Redwood since what, September-ish? Yeah, things are going well. I did the website, the tutorial, did the form builder stuff, did a bunch of the generator stuff, scaffolds and cell generators, all junk. Yeah, excited to be here. Redwood.
And you did the infomercial.
And the infomercial, yes. If you laughed at the infomercial during the Jamstack Conf, that was also me getting sprayed in the face.
And by September, you mean September more than a year ago. September.
Yeah, sorry. Last September, yeah.
Oh,
Since the
so
beginning.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
10 years ago last year.
I need a haircut. I did not get one yet.
And Peter, how about you?
Hi, I'm Peter. I've been working on Redwood for a long time as well. And I pretty much try to edit all the files and make things work. So our process is I spend a lot of time trying hundreds of ideas, and then Rob and Tom and David tell me that they're bad, and then they refine them into better ideas. And we just keep doing that, and eventually we come up with some nice things. That's what I do. I'm the implementer of the iterations. And I want to introduce you to my co-partner in programming. She's always here and always helping.
Does she help by sitting on your keyboard while you're typing?
She's an emotional support cat. Sometimes it's difficult to code, and she's there.
I get that. Okay,
All
did
right.
you? Is it my turn?
I'm going to kick it off. Let me a little bit about the schedule today. So we have Tom is going to go right after this and do a State of the Union on Redwood, just update where things are at with Redwood. We have some great demos lined up. But first, Aldo will be coming up to do a bit of a feature announcement. Not new news. Wait, Peter, how does that work? New, or I forget. Never mind. That's going way back in time. That was different. Something about time. Not new news, but new news. He'll be presenting something shortly that you can use in your Redwood tooling to help build. And then 3 demos. Danny is going to do a demo. Phuoc is going to do a demo. And then David Tierson is going to do a demo. And after each of those, we'll have some time for Q&A, as well as at the very end. I'll be monitoring time just to make sure we have time for all the demos. As you have questions, there's a main chat channel tab you would see on the right column. And then there's a questions tab as well, which is a great place to post your questions. We'll make sure we get to all those questions. If not, after one of the demos, then at the very end, we'll come back and make sure we get all those. And our running time is going to be about 1 hour and 15 minutes today. I think that's it. Did I cover all the things? Yeah, I think that's about it. What did I miss? Anything else? All right, let's do it. And let's hang out this time. I told everyone as they demo, because the screen share is actually a nice presentation and records well, we can stick around and, a little helpful banter and encourage people as they go along for the demos. That'd be fine today. So, sound good? All right, Tom, I'll kick it off to you, and then when you're ready, I'll bring Aldo up on the stage.
All right, hello everybody. My name is Tom Preston Werner, creator and core team member of RedwoodJS, and it's been pretty amazing the last month or so. I feel like we're really starting to pick up steam. The community continues to grow. We have a bunch of new contributors to the project itself. I see things on Twitter all the time. People are trying it out. I think as we approach a 1.0 release, we're getting more stable. There's still some big things that we need to do. We still need to do some things around pre-rendering, which we haven't. We're trying to approach it thoughtfully and try to really make it work well for people, but we're pretty early on there. That's one of the big things that remains for a 1.0 release. A lot of the rest of it is really polishing up things that are already there, things around testing and Storybook. Rob right now is working on a second version of the tutorial, not a second version, but a second actual tutorial number 2, which will cover Storybook and testing and a bunch of the flow of how we envisioned from the very beginning of what creating a Redwood application would look like on a day-to-day basis, and all the tools that are integrated there to make that a first-class experience. Those are being covered in the second tutorial, and a big part of that is to allow us to really make sure that those things work really well for a 1.0 release. We want to cover in the tutorial those things that are going to be critical for the 1.0, that it's like, this is the experience that we want for you coming in as a new Redwood developer. You go through the first tutorial, you get a sense for how Redwood works and what it can do for you. You go through the second tutorial, you get a sense of really the power of the full integration of all of these amazing tools in the React ecosystem. And so you can look forward to that. And if you're interested in helping or reviewing that, ping Rob in Discord or in the pull request that he has open for that. It's maybe a little early for people to start trying it out, but I think before too long in the next few weeks, hopefully we can have a version, like a draft version of that available for people to go through. So I'm just really excited. It's now the beginning of November. I've said for a long time that we hope to have a 1.0 out by the end of the year. I think that it's possible we'll have to cut a few things, but I think that we can get really, really close to that because of all of the amazing contributions that you all have made and everyone in the community. And I was looking at the GitHub stars just now, and we're 30 stars away from 5,000. So it's just exciting to see that metric. I think it's a really good signal for the community and people who are coming to the community to say, oh, this project is legit. This looks like it's going somewhere. So if you haven't starred GitHub and or if you haven't starred Redwood on GitHub and you actually like it, then I encourage you to give it a star so that you can keep up to date on it and you can give that signal to other people. So thank you for being here today. And I actually have to go in about 15 minutes, so I'm just going to disappear when that happens. My kid has a doctor's appointment I need to get to, but I will watch the recording, and these demos are going to be really awesome. All of the people demoing today have been involved in the ecosystem for quite a long time, and they've taken a chance on Redwood and really helped build it out as they're building their own companies or projects. So a huge thanks to them for doing that and being here. And I'll leave you today by just saying, we really want Redwood's ecosystem and community to be one that embraces everyone that wants to be here. And whatever we can do for you, if we can help you somehow, we want to do that. So just reach out to us. This is a two-way street, and I want to build the best open source community that there has ever been. One that's more helpful, one that's more encouraging, one that's more open and inclusive and diverse. And we have a lot of work to do in that regard, but it's work that we're trying to do intentionally. So thank you for everything that you all bring to the community.
Here, here. Thanks, Tom. Tom, we'll miss you today. We'll put Peter in charge of asking the smart questions. All right, Aldo, I'm looking for you. We'll bring you up on screen here. And I think it's working. Aldo, let me know if you don't see the invite to come up on the screen.
Yeah.
Ah, there he is.
Hi, Redwood.
I miss Ringo, Aldo.
Yeah.
That would have been. I should have required.
It's gonna have to become my alter ego for remote work.
Aldo,
I don't think people are gonna
lovely
take me seriously though.
Halloween costume.
But I put on a shirt.
Or maybe we take you more seriously. Who knows?
My girlfriend was telling me I didn't look pretty, so I put on a shirt.
All right. Well, Aldo, please introduce yourself, and we'll let you have the stage to do a demo.
Yeah.
Demo or show off the thing.
My name is Aldo. I code all day, pretty much, and I live in San Francisco. And I've been working with Redwood for what, about like 6 months now or something like that, maybe a little bit more. And it's been really interesting to see how a community is born. So hopefully I'll be able to tell people I was there in the beginning when Peter was pulling all these all-nighters. So today, guys, I'm going to show you something that we've been working on for a while, and I think it's finally ready for everyone to enjoy. So I am just trying to figure out how to share my screen here.
Yeah, bottom.
There you go. Share screen. Got it.
Bottom. Yep. I see it coming. Oh, that's Peter.
There you go. Can you see my screen now?
Looks great.
So we have a VS Code extension, official Redwood IDE VS Code extension. I'm just going to show you really quickly how to install it, and then we're going to take a look at some of the features. So if you want to install the extension, you have two options. The first one is you can search for the extension on the marketplace. Just search for Redwood here, and you should find it. But easier than that, just go to your VS Code, go to the extensions panel, and search for Redwood. And you should see the Redwood IDE published by RedwoodJS. This is the one that you want to install. This is the old version, so it says deprecated there. From now on, just install this one. I'll get rid of the duplicate soon. So once you install it, I already have it installed here on my IDE. If you open a Redwood project, so let's check out the example blog. So if you go to Redwood GitHub org, you're going to find the example blog project. So I already checked this out, and I opened my IDE here, and you should see this Redwood outline panel. This is the first feature that you have now, and it lets you explore your Redwood project by looking at the structure of your project. So we all know that one of the great things about Redwood is that it tells you what goes where, and it gives you these names. It tells you that there are pages, layouts, cells, components, SDLs, services, and so on. So instead of looking at just the file structure, which is what you get here, right? This gives you an alternative view where you can look at the pages, and you get a little bit more information. So if you're looking at this page, you also see the route, right? So this is really nice when you want to get your bearings on, like, just find quickly what the page you're looking for. There's also these routes that shows you the inverse, right? So you get the path to the page. This is sort of like a sitemap here. And if you click here, it's going to take you to the declaration of the route. So this is really, really cool to find, just to start from the top. And you can also go to the React component that implements the page. You can go to the route declaration, and you can do a few more things. And if you wanted to create a new page, you can just click here on the plus button, and this is going to launch the generators, the same generator that you use on the command line, but it's gonna open it in an interactive mode. So if I wanted to create, this is called demo. Let's give it a name. I can even type it in lowercase because it uses the same logic. So let's name this page demo, and it suggests this path. I could change it if I wanted. I don't want to change it, and it's going to generate the page. So once it generates the page, it also opens the generated files, right? So it gives you a quick feedback of what was done, and it also shows you that this file changed, right? So it modified routes. One of the issues that you might have when using generators and using an IDE is that if your file is open, let's say that I'm editing routes, so I added a comment here. I don't save this, and then I run the generator. Normally, this leads to problems, right? So what would happen is that if I run this via the command line, it would create a conflict. But the VS Code extension is smart enough that it will figure out how to add this change without you having saved this, right? So now you can just save everything here. So you have the outline, you have generators. You also have some convenient features like checking the paths and adding highlighting. So syntax coloring here. If you make a mistake here, let's say that I add a duplicate parameter, it should also catch that. So it's going to tell me, route path contains a duplicate parameter. So it adds a few extra checks, which you can also access if you run Redwood check or Redwood diagnostics. But in this context, you get them right where they happen, right? So you get them in the IDE with your code. Of course, you can also trigger the generator from here. There are all sorts of small features that I don't even remember, but you're going to run into them. Another cool feature is that let's say that I run the generator for an SDL. Okay, so I'm going to say, you have commands, so I can say Redwood generate. Okay, let's run Redwood generate, and I want to generate a SDL. It's going to look at my schema and give me options. So this is like an interactive version of the generator where it already knows a little bit about your project, so it can guide you. This is called the interactive generator. The one that you have on the command line is just the generator. And the interactive generator is not 100%. It doesn't cover all of the use cases that the generator does, but eventually it will cover everything. So for now, it only does the basic things, right? But it's really nice because it kind of gives you it guides you through the different options, and it's just easier. So look, I can turn on. Okay, I want to turn on CRUD, or I want to overwrite existing files. So all these options that you have on the command line, they appear here in this way. So another cool thing that you have here, if you are, let's go to, I'm going to show you something more advanced quickly, and then I'll stop with the features. Let's go to my API. Sorry, and I have a SDL, right? Where are they? Here, GraphQL. Okay, so in Redwood, you generate GraphQL definitions for your domain objects and your operations, and then you need to implement these operations, right? So the queries and the mutations, you need to implement them with services, right? So in this layered architecture, right, that's one of the conventions, and then Redwood does all the wiring for you, and that's great. All this wiring is great because it saves you time, but it also makes it a little hard to keep track of what's going on sometimes. So, for example, if you have the SDL here on the left, and then you have the implementation file on the right. So you have, let's look at this. All post is here, all post is here, right? So this service implements this, following the Redwood conventions. If I were to remove this or rename this, the IDE will tell me that this service is not implemented. I can also start from this side, and I can say, show me the implementation of this guy. Oh, actually, that feature is not turned on here. I don't even remember which ones are, but in the IDE, you get all this nice like symbol-based navigation. So we're slowly adding those features into the IDE. So eventually, you should be able to move across layers in your Redwood project and get all sorts of nice error messages. So there are more features coming, and I also want to hear from you what are you missing. It's one of the challenges when developing an IDE is that it's hard to know what's useful for people. So I'd much rather have you tell me what you would like to see. For example, what kind of errors you would expect to see that you're not seeing, what kind of navigation is missing, what's missing here in the outline. So the most important thing for now is to just file issues, right? So if you go here to the Redwood repo, there is a tag. VS Code. What's the tag? VS Code something. So if you search for VS Code, right, you're going to find some issues that we're working on, some requests for comments. But just feel free to file issues. Of course, if things don't work, file issues. But also if you have ideas, I'd love to hear them. Yeah, so that's it on my side. I might have forgotten something, but I'm trying to make it quick.
Yeah, that's great, Aldo. Thank you. And you've been working on that hard for a long time. It's really, it's fantastic. I know everyone's used it so far has been really excited about it. So this is kind of the first official announcement that it's released into the wild. Well done. I know a lot of people have contributed to this. This is the structure package in the Redwood framework. Monica, who's here, I think today, I thought I saw her name. Monica's been helping out a lot with that recently, as well as several other people have contributed. And just thank you all. This is
so Monica
really
added
powerful tool.
Yeah, just to give you an example of how you can contribute, right? So Monica added a check that makes sure that you cannot do this. So let's say that I have my not found page, and by mistake I drop it into a private wrapper, right? I say that my not found page is private, and obviously that's we know that that's not valid. So it now shows this error. This wasn't the case. So this is something that she added, and so yeah, if you want to contribute too, most of these errors are implemented in the structure package. So if you go to the GitHub repo and you look at the code, packages, structure, there is a model of of Redwood, right? So under the hood, this creates like a series of objects that are all connected, where you have the routes, you have the pages, you have everything. And here's where the checks are implemented. So if you go to the router, for example, this is not very user-friendly code because it's a little low level, but it's still, I mean, it's still easy to understand if you spend some time here. So for example, let's go to diagnostics, right? And you can find that, for example, if there are no not found pages, right? So if the number of not found pages is 0, then yield this error. You must specify a not found page. So how does this look like here? If I remove this guy, but I get an error there that says you must specify a not found page, right? So it's pretty straightforward. All the errors are implemented there. So yeah, if you find anything that's missing, or if you have a request, if you find an extension that you really love for any other web framework, or if there's a feature that you just, it blew your mind on VS Code, I'd love to hear about that, because VS Code is constantly adding new capabilities, and people are exploring what's possible. So recently they added the Notebooks API for interactive notebooks. They now allow you to add like HTML on this side, but I haven't really seen good implementations, right? So if you find something, I'd really appreciate if you just, hey, this is really cool, and just put an issue there saying maybe we can do something like this. Don't try to make too much sense. We can take it from there.
All right. Thank you. And I've seen you do it. All right. Everyone take Aldo up on that offer. All right. Thank you. I'll let you sign off. Really appreciate it. We are recording this. We'll be posting the video recording. If you all missed something, you'll be able to come back to it later. And we'll get Danny up here. So thanks, Aldo.
See you guys. Bye.
Thanks, Aldo.
All right.
You need to cut me off because I don't know how to do that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Do you know how to end your screen? Can you end your screen share?
I can unplug my computer. I'm sure
I'm going to boot you. Here you go. You are officially out.
I'm going to do the same.
Oh, no. And if it minimize this, and then can I delete it? That's amazing. I don't know if I can actually end his screen share.
He's gone. He left already.
Oh, good. There it is.
Oh, I see.
Wait, where did Danny go? we had Danny up here. Oh, all right. He's coming back.
Everyone's gone. Tom, is that CG sunshine, or is it real sunshine?
This is the real deal. It's really well rendered. It even casts shadows.
Amazing.
That's great. Danny, welcome, man.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Oh, you bet. Always a pleasure. So, okay, tell us who you are and where you are, and yeah, jump on into the demo.
Right. So I'm Danny. I'm one of the community leads for Redwood. And Rob will be disappointed to know my camera is broken. So now I'm back onto my FaceTime camera, sadly.
Mine keeps overheating too.
Yeah, and so I've been involved with Redwood for a few months now, about 6 months as well, I think. And I've seen it grow from like very early on to becoming pretty fully fledged as a framework. And I've been using it to build my startup, Tape.sh. So today, what I want to do is try and demo some of the features that I built with Tape and how it relates to Redwood. And the reason I say try is because my network connection is really...
As he freezes. That was kind of apropos timing, actually. Oh, and we lost him. Oh, no. All right, we're bringing him back. It's you and me, Rob. Oh, everybody's leaving me.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. My thing keeps popping up a thing. It's like, hey, pick your camera and go on stage.
I'm all alone. Danny, the timing was perfect on that.
I know. That was beautiful. All right, so I'm gonna do it quickly before you guys lose me again. So let me share my screen.
It seems to be coming through fine, except for that one little hiccup. Wow, it's beautiful.
Can you guys see my screen?
Sure can.
Cool. So this time I kept the resolution smaller so that everyone can actually see. So very quickly, I'm going to show one of the new features that are coming in, I think 21, if Peter's around, if he can confirm. But this is just social auth with multiple providers using Firebase. So I'm going to quickly show you how it works, and then I'm going to show you how I use this for this upcoming app that I'm about to launch. So here we go, sign in with Google, and if it goes through, and you're signed in. Nice and easy. Some of you guys have seen this before, done with custom GitHub auth, but the change for me was very, very minimal, and that made me really happy that the custom version of GitHub auth that I did was kept very close to the way Peter and DT and the rest of the guys have implemented auth overall. So the change was very, very simple. It took me 2.5 days to go from custom auth to Firebase auth and to be able to do multiple auth. One of the new things that are there, and this is a little bit more complicated, is login with Apple. And this one works as well. It won't take me to the same account, partially because I have on my Apple account the email hider thing. I think it's called email relay. So what it should do is take me to a brand new account. So that's also possible. And now that you've seen this, I want to show you the part of the bit of the code that lets you do login on like 4 different providers. And this is the surprising thing, in that this is all there was to it. Do login is basically, I'll show you the do login function in a second. But for Google, you do login, Google. For Facebook, do login, Facebook, and you get the idea. And if we go quickly up to the do login function, okay, sorry, here we go. So if you ignore the try catch here, all it is this. So this hasn't been released yet. I'm still working on it at the moment, but it seems to work really, really well. And this login function, as you can see, comes from the useauth provider. So I thought this was very, very powerful to be able to get so many forms of authentication out in such an easy way. And if we quickly go back to the Firebase console, I'll show you what providers are supported. And these are the ones I have enabled. So you can see you can also do Yahoo. Twitter isn't supported anymore because Twitter closed it down. But all of these social providers will work out of the box in version 21. So I'm now going to quickly show you how the app I've been building uses this auth. So Tape is a screen recording application. And this is the brand new menu bar app that isn't out yet. I'm going to try and get it out to...
Whoa, that looks amazing, man.
Thank you. So it's still work in progress. I'm going to try and get it out to a few alpha users. I'm sure there are a lot of bugs, but I'm hoping to iron it out very quickly. So the way it works is you type in, it's meant to be super minimal. You record your screen with 2 clicks or less. So let's record the Firebase console, for example. So I type in Firefox, press enter, and it started recording. And when I press stop, now it's going to take a little while because like I said, my internet connection is slow, but you can see that it's uploading the screen and it's going to give me a little link here. And now if I press the link, which I will show off here, and you can see that it's loaded. And one of the other things that you can do, this is an idea that came from so I just had to build it, but I'm not going to demo it right now because my
sorry, Danny, you cut out.
My webcam is already on this call.
You cut out. You were like, "What? This is what."
Can you guys hear me? Okay.
You just cut out when you said the last thing you said was another thing you can do is, and then you were gone for a couple of seconds, and then you said, "But you can't do it right now," something like that.
But we don't know. It's a mystery what the thing is.
Mystery.
Right. So what you can do is also overlay your webcam on top of the screen recording. So you can imagine this is really useful. I'll show you quickly a recording because my screen is currently being used on the call, my webcam, I mean. So you can do a recording like that. It opens up the webcam and you can explain your code or present your presentation, or you can comment on designs or pull requests, all with your webcam overlaid on the bottom right corner. So this is one of the new features that's coming along. I'm hoping the Redwood guys will find it useful, in particular the core contributors, to explain and share information and share knowledge using this.
I'm going to send Rob
so that's
stuff
coming very, very
all
soon.
the time. This is going to be great. Rob's going to get several of these a day from me.
I want to see GitHub issues with these kind of things. It's like, I'm trying to do this. It doesn't work. Here's the proof. Fix it.
This
is amazing.
Exactly. And
keep going.
And you can do it with GIFs as well. The same as, you can record a video with your audio, but you can also do just a GIF without your video. Now, the other thing I'm going to show off very quickly, and this is more related to Redwood, is I'm just going to reset my config on the app. So this is just, at the moment, it's still on my development mode. So let's launch the app. Here we go. And so this time I'm going to show how I do login from a separate application altogether and sign in using the same credentials that still uses Redwood Auth. And this is very, very familiar to anyone who's signed in on a smart TV. Let's say you want to sign into, I think Amazon Video does it. I know Plex does it, but it's the same sort of situation. So let's say, let's continue, log in. I'm actually already logged in on my account, but you can see that it's already created the token. But if you weren't logged in, it would ask you to log in the normal Redwood way. Once that's done, you can see once you come back to the app, you're already logged in. What's happening in the background is that it kind of polls in the background to see if the app has been logged in yet or not. And if you are, saves the credentials and you're good to go. Next step, ask for accessibility permissions, which I already gave earlier, and you're good to go. So nice and easy. This is also possible with Redwood Auth. I'm going to delete this token, don't worry. And that's my demo of the upcoming Tape menu bar. I would love if there are any questions or suggestions. The idea for the webcam overlay came from Peter. I'd love ideas like that that I can hopefully build into the application. But if not, if you're interested in trying it out, I'll post links to the URL and how to get on the beta in a bit.
Danny, this is fantastic. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Peter.
Danny, there was one question from Monica. She wanted to know what your VS Code theme was.
Oh, yeah. I spend a lot of time on my VS Code theme. I'll
Is it a
find out for
custom
you
one?
just a second.
Oh,
It's a little bit customized, yeah, but I will. It's one of. Let me just check. It's. I'll post the settings in a second.
Okay. Danny, I had a question because something I know, but just highlight from very, very quick introduction. You're doing a lot with the Redwood API in terms of running multiple clients, right? So meaning there's a website, but what are the other clients you're running using the Redwood API?
So the Redwood app is the main web application, if you like. So we're running the CLI, which you can record your mobile devices using the CLI as a as a client. You can also run this new app, but also the share link that I posted. I covered in one of these earlier meetups how that's a Next.js app hosted completely separately, and that's also speaking to the Redwood API and pulling your screenshot and screen cap to display to the user.
Very good. Yeah, and the desktop?
Yeah, the menu bar, sorry, that's the desktop also uses the Redwood API. Primarily, you can see the hard part there is, this is useful if anyone's writing Electron apps or native apps of any sort. You can't use social auth unless it's in an official browser. So Google, for example, will block you from Chrome or Firefox or Safari or a bunch of browsers. So if you try to just open the login page, it wouldn't work.
Okay, man, that's amazing. And which is your favorite client to work in? I mean, if you had your choice.
If I had a choice, I would write everything in Redwood. I would write my memoirs in Redwood if I could.
No, I know we've joked about this before, but why? What's been enjoyed? I know there's a lot of things that Redwood lacks as well right now, which is right. But like, why? What's been your experience there?
Yeah. So no. In all seriousness, one of the things I love about Redwood is that you get to do everything. Everything that you want to do and none of the bits that you don't want to do. So one of my pet peeves, I've been writing all sorts of JavaScript applications and native apps for a while now. And one of my pet peeves is passing things.
We lost him. We lost the pet peeve. Danny, you there? And you just said one of your pet peeves and it stopped. We have no idea what your pet peeve is.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, can hear you now.
Yeah. Yeah, so pet peeves is kind of writing boilerplate code. So what I love, for example, the cells just kind of hooks up all of the API request, comes back with the API request. How do you handle errors? How do you handle loading? All of that is done for you. Another example would be the .env files. This is something I've been dealing with today. Redwood kind of just handles this stuff for you. Migrating your data as well. Redwood, I know Rob added data migration. It's a really painful thing to do, whether on the client side or on the server side you do. Stuff like this, it just makes Redwood a much easier client, easier framework to use. It lets you do the stuff you want to do and takes away all of that boilerplate that is just not interesting to most people, I think.
Well, thank you. Tape is looking amazing. I think you probably have at least 40 potential alpha testers today, and we'll figure out how to make sure people get information about that. Yeah, excited to use it. Way to go. You've been working really hard on that too. And for everyone as well, Danny is all over the Redwood community. So the forums, the chat, great one to reach out to. He's one of our community leads, so is helping out with getting commits merged as well into Redwood. So he's a great one, a great resource, and loves helping the community and making Redwood awesome. So Danny, just thank you. It's really been a pleasure. It's so fun to get to know you. So way to go. All right, I think I have to boot you out. So anyway, anything else before I think you froze. Oh, there you are. So anyway, we'll come back if there's questions. We can bring you back up. But thank you again. Phu, thank you. Welcome. And so, yeah, please introduce yourself, who you are and where you are. And I'm excited to see the current status on Vida.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Phu. I'm from Seattle. It's like 11 a.m. right now in Seattle, but it looks like an evening. I actually still have to turn my light on because it's gloomy and rainy today. So I've been working on an application called Vida. It's a data visualization app. I think I started somewhere in March. It's about 7, 8 months now. I started on 0.6, I believe, and I've been, progressing and upgrading the application along with Redwood framework. So I lived through some of the pain from framework updates. So the app is live. Let me share my screen right now. There is a production site for it. I have some users on it. I've been developing new features, I've got some traffic on it as well. So it's pretty exciting. The basic idea of the app is it's going to let you turn some data format into a dashboard. So basically, you write some JSON files that contains the data and then the spec for the visualization, and then it will produce a data dashboard for you. So you don't have to, wrestling with the React.js to compose your dashboard. You can just write some sort of simple JSON file, and then it will generate a dashboard. Vida is an open source project, so you can actually go on GitHub and fork it, deploy your own data dashboard, customize it, use it for your own app, including it in your Node.js app. Some of the use cases that I've seen the users and myself use it, for like some analytics dashboard, and then use it for monitoring, you can also build some sort of simple custom internal apps to display some data from the database as well. So there's many use cases for it. I'm still exploring how people are using it and getting some feedback from the users. But you can go to the production site right now, Vida.io, and then there's some example dashboard here. I built. These are the dashboard that I built and shared. So let's say if you, the first one is the COVID data increase in the US, for example. So you can click on the dashboard and see. This is live data from covidtracking.org. So it's actually querying the data from an external API. By the way, Vida.io, the entire app is running on Redwood. So it's actually a pretty good application if you're new to Redwood to look at. So you can check out some of the coding practices, some of the examples. If you don't know how to do something, you can look at Vida.io code base to look to see. But it's this dashboard is querying the COVID increased data from the COVID tracking endpoint. You can see it's very up to date all the way into today, or November 3rd, which is the election day, I guess. So this is a demo dashboard, and you can create an account and then log in and create your own dashboard. I've seen Daniel using Firebase. For Vida.io, I picked Auth0. I don't quite remember the reason, but it's been with Auth0. And then you can create your account, you log in, and then you can create your own dashboard. You can create a new dashboard, for example, and save it. Or you can open an existing dashboard that someone share, and then you can copy it. So if you go on the home page or post on the link, and then you can copy it, and then you can start creating your own dashboard and edit it. Guess the formatting here is a bit buggy. I should fix that at some point. So once you create your own dashboard and then you can edit your dashboard. So here's the COVID increase dashboard. You can see the JSON spec file here. It looks a little intimidating, but you can fork the existing dashboard and then start, copying the JSON over, and then see it will make it a lot easier. It's not that intimidating. And I am currently working on the editor, so to make the text editing less intimidating. So there's some UI that will help you edit the dashboard JSON here. So the idea is you can edit it, the dashboard through some UI tools, or you can actually go in and change the JSON structure. And once you have the JSON structure, this is actually a format that you can reuse somewhere else. So if you have your own dashboard that you want to deploy, you can just use the JSON file and then set an environment variable, and then you can deploy your own dashboard without having to reference Vida.io at all. So one example for those is I have deployed a couple of standalone dashboards on Netlify. So Netlify is actually a pretty good tool as well. So in this deployment, it's actually running Vida.io code, Vida code, and then it specifies a JSON environment file. And then that JSON file, it can be hosted on like GitHub as well. That JSON file will be loaded when the dashboard loads, and then it will render the dashboard. So you can configure your own, basically your own website, and run the data dashboard. So I think that's it for my demo. So the whole site, the code for Vida.io is open source. You can look it on GitHub or clone it and run it. It's actually pretty standard. There's no, if you clone it on GitHub, from GitHub, there's not much configuration you have to do. It just use the basic standard RedwoodJS. Some of the things that I do that is, I think can be good for developers. So for example, I have, if you need Google Analytics, so I have Google Analytics already integrated somewhere. So there's an example. So if you develop your own RedwoodJS and you want to integrate with Google Analytics, you can look at Vida.io as an example and figure out how to do it. So that's one thing that is integrated in Vida.io. Another thing that I have is, I think it's good for the beginners to learn, is I have a structure. So let's say so when I started, Redwood didn't even have TypeScript. So there's a mix of JavaScript and TypeScript code in the code base. So if you want to figure out how to minimize the amount of JavaScript you want to write most of your code in TypeScript, then there's a way to kind of minimize that and organize the code structure. I think I heard that in 0.20, there will be all TypeScript. I haven't upgraded it yet, but that's one of the versions that I'm looking up to upgrading my the Vida code base into. But if you have to live with the mix between JavaScript and TypeScript, you can check out the examples on Vida code base to see how you can organize and work with between TypeScript and JavaScript. So that's one of the highlights of the code base. And another one is testing. There was a lot of issues I faced personally with testing. I heard earlier that Rob is working on the second tutorial, which has some help for testing. But one of the problems with testing is you won't have the route component in the test suite. So I wrote a test helper here that will render the route. And then you can start testing the route, like the about page here. It renders the route before it runs the test. So it will not have any problem with the route. So some of that is one of the test helper that I wrote to get around the problem. So yeah, there's some little techniques that I developed over time. Some of them may be outdated now since the core RedwoodJS framework has improved a lot. But these are the techniques that I used to kind of get around some of the problems and limitations of the core framework. So yeah, so that's Vida.js. There's some other, that's Vida.io, I'm sorry. There's some other things that, like, there's an NPM package for Vida that you can include it in your own project as well. But I guess I may run too long if I start digging into those topics.
That's exciting. Would you post a link? I haven't seen the, I didn't know about the NPM package. Would you post that link in the chat? And then we'll make sure that in the recap, we'll get that as well out to people.
Sure. So I will post that. So yeah, Vida is an open source project. So I am open to help as well. I don't know whether it's going to be a startup or it's going to be something. I'm just actually developing the project. Trying to get people to use. You can start on GitHub, you can fork it. I'd love to hear some feedbacks. You can contribute to the code base. And if you're new to Redwood, you can go and look at it to see, how to organize the code and how to code. I think it's a more complicated examples that you can look at to see how a RedwoodJS app can be developed. At this point, I feel pretty confident you can develop some sort of production-like applications on Redwood. So yeah, check it out.
Phu, man, this has come a long way. I know you've been working on this. You came in really early. Redwood was lacking a lot of things back in March and really took a stab. So one, way to go. This is really looking good. And I want to say, just to make sure it's clear to people, your core idea, I've done some work in data analysis and data visualization. Some of those tools are really hard to use. But your core idea, and the way you've set up to use Redwood is static files. If people have questions about file handling, Phu's done a lot of work there. But the JSON data drives the dashboard visualization. and then how you're implementing the Jamstack workflow for these dashboards, if they want to do one-off dashboards, is just really unique. And I think you're really taking advantage of the infrastructure and methodology really well there. So anyway, way to go. And thanks for being an active member in the community as well. Phu is in the forums, especially, and if you have questions about what he's doing, I know he's talking to people often and helping to make Redwood just a better framework, but also helping to make the community a better place. So yeah, thank you. What's one thing, let's see if we've got any questions real quick, and then we're going to go to Danny next, but what's the next, for you, most important feature Redwood needs to make Vida a little bit more awesome? Is there anything top of your list right now?
On top of my list for Redwood, for me, would be testing, I think.
Okay.
Because I think Tom mentioned that we're trying to get to V1. I think having a solid testing infrastructure is actually important for production apps, because if you want to have any sort of large-scale deployment, you need to have reliable testing framework, and you need to be able to write kind of like pretty elaborate test suite, right? Through my experience developing Vida, sometimes I change something and there's a problem happen somewhere else, right? It's very hard to kind of manually go through and validate all the features.
Right.
So a production app would require a pretty solid testing framework. So that's, I think, is
okay. Well, there's been like all the pieces of testing that have been out there, and over the last even 2 weeks, and Rob's been helping on these things too. We've been integrating those pieces a bit better, so the whole workflow is a little bit improved. So those improvements will be out in Doc 21 coming soon. And also, I'm now going to rely on you to be our test suite tester. So when we get you upgraded, I'll show you. We have a so Tom mentioned the roadmap. If you look at the top of the GitHub repo for Redwood, project boards, there's one specific to testing. And Phu, you can see the current status. This is for everyone as well. There's a few outstanding things we could use some help with, but you can also see where things are and what PRs are in progress right now. But we'll have some things integrated really soon. That's a big part of the tutorial, right, Rob? Am I doing it right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that the whole
excited.
Experience around running tests for Redwood?
I was pretty excited to hear Rob mention the test in the second tutorial. So
yeah, you have to say tutorial. Well, thank you. We'll get David up here, and if we have a little bit of time, we might come back to some questions. But yeah, do post those links, especially for the NPM package. I think that's really interesting.
Sure.
All right, Phu, thank you so much. This is really a pleasure to see where things are at. Thank you for your time, and yeah, thanks for helping to make Redwood more successful.
Hi there.
David Prime.
So here we go.
All right. So DT, you tell us who you are.
Yep.
And where you are, and yeah, is it Pyplyn or Pyplyn?
This is as you'll find out. This is an experiment. It's Pyplyn. It doesn't really have a name. Plus, I think Salesforce uses it anyways as a data ingestion enrichment pipeline. So it was really just, replace letters. Instead of replacing letters with numbers, I replaced it with Y's.
All right, man. Well, I'll hand it off to you. I can see your screen.
Great. Okay.
You still have to tell us who you are and where you are.
Right. My name is David. Usually it goes by DT just because my last name's confusing to say, unless you're Swedish. I'm in Boston, Massachusetts, in the northeast of the US, and I've been helping out with Redwood since probably around July, and been doing various side projects to kind of see where, how can Redwood be used in, different types of situations, kind of trying to push it into other areas that aren't just kind of the the traditional kind of Jamstacky approach, given things I've done in the past. So some things I've done in the past have been data enrichment pipelines and taking this data and then trying to do something with it to make it more useful. And a friend of mine had I do some freelance work for a friend of mine who has a data analytics company, and I tend to do the data side, and she tends to do the, the R stats and analysis side. And she had an opportunity to kind of do a proof of concept for a client. And the reason this is all about wine is because this client manages a bunch of wine brands. And so we can get into that. So if you are wondering why it's wine, it's, obviously this week people are probably drinking a lot, but it wasn't that I'm interested in so much in wine. It's that that was the use case scenario. So is it possible to build a data ingestion and enrichment pipeline with Redwood? Good question. So what is this? So it's a pipeline that we're going to try to curate, prioritize, process, and store enriched tweets and the articles that are mentioned in it, so that we can analyze and do some research and some reporting. It's a Jamstack site. It's built on RedwoodJS, obviously, and it helps to orchestrate all the jobs and services and then visualize that data. And like I said, this was a proof of concept to take to my friend's client in the wine industry. And because, Twitter usually, sometimes, every once in a while, has insightful news and trends and information. And the idea is, can you gain some business intelligence by analyzing some curated content? Can you look at the trends and varietals and brands across industry? Can they start mapping that? Eventually, they would want to map that to sales data and other things to try to see, like, what are some business opportunities? So, for example, can you see why and who's partnering with the entertainment industry? Because Snoop Dogg has a wine brand with some Australian, wine producer, and Star Trek launched a Klingon wine to coincide with the Discovery.
Did you say Snoop Dogg?
Oh yeah, Snoop. Yeah, that's Snoop Dogg right there. See, you see in the background there? That's Snoop.
Oh, that's Snoop.
Yeah, that's Snoop. So Snoop's wine.
Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, and like I said, is the wine, are hip hop artists trying to go into the wine instead of doing vitamin water and other type of beverages, is wine. To be honest, it's under his gin and juice kind of brand. Anyway, we can go into that. He has gin too, obviously. So the idea was to focus on getting the data and just do some very rudimentary analysis, numbers, stats, aggregations, nothing fancy, because again, I do the data side, she typically does the analysis side. So why did I make it? I wanted to see if Jamstack could actually do it. How far can I actually push Jamstack with RedwoodJS? What works, what doesn't yet, what do I still need, what could be better, and how? Because, it's an experiment. Because, can you do this? Probably. Should you? I don't know. Maybe not. I mean, it's possible. We'll see. Because I've built things like this before using either Heroku and some Ruby processes with Sidekick and schedulers and Redis for queuing. And I've experimented before with some FaunaDB and AWS serverless back in February or March of earlier this year. And it was the orchestration was tough. You had to do a lot with the serverless, with the notifications and the things like that, just to orchestrate it all and keep it all in your head and whatnot. But there are many ways to do this type of thing. There's established patterns, especially using AWS. And this is not a new thing. And there's things. So this is not the way to do it. It's, can you do it? Is it possible? So what's the answer? Yeah, you can. So what does it do? So we're going to be doing curation, ingestion, enrichment with fanning out, parsing, transformation, and storing. These are like the basic things that you have to do in a pipeline, right? You got to figure out what you're going to look at. You got to bring it in. You got to enrich it in some way. You got to transform it so it's useful. You got to store it somewhere, and then you can do something with it. So basically, the fan out is, we're processing these entry streams of data. We're going to be saying, oh, is it a tweet? We're going to go enrich it with some NLP.
Could you make that slide a little bit larger, DT? If
No.
not, that's fine. Okay. But all good. Yeah, don't mess with your layout.
But
That's fine.
I'm probably what I'm gonna do. So there's somewhere on this side. I
Oh
had,
yeah,
like,
post these slides and we can make
what
sure
I'm
they're
gonna
in the
do.
recap.
There's an about page that I'm gonna have, and I'm just gonna take this whole deck and put it in the about. So I'll share that.
Awesome. Thank you.
But in any case, it's a fan out where you're processing, a stream of data, 20 things, and for each one, it's an article, is it a tweet? Go enrich it for using different services. Okay, a lot of talking. So what I'm using is Feedly and Diffbot. Feedly is a service that helps curate sources of data. So in this case, wine influencer that are Twitter accounts. It helps me identify and classify and prioritize data because it has a little machine learning stuff. And then Diffbot on the right side, again, you can't really see, but the information comes back is like down right here below. It says Sauvignon Blanc. So it's telling me that it saw this article or it saw this content that I sent, and it identified it Sauvignon Blanc as a food or whatever. So knowing that things get ingested and that are foods, we can take a look at kind of this. So I'm going to be showing both just local and the thing that's online live, and pay attention to this little guy down below. And by the way, I started using that new theme. It's very colorful. So you can start seeing that things are moving down there, aren't they? Like, oh yeah, that's logging. Neat. Okay, so what we're doing is, because I have certain ontologies, I can know that there are ranked foods. So if it comes back as a food, it just thinks wine is a food. So there's white wine, or that there's products, and anything's a product, like a Pinot Noir or Wine Spectator, which is a magazine. And each of these has a certain set of tweets that come back with it. Of course, I picked Wine Spectator as the largest one. And each of these little queries is something that many people might not have experimented with Prisma, because you're probably using the find one or the very things. But Prisma allows you to do custom raw SQL. So when you're doing stats like this, you can run your fairly complex window partition, window functions in Postgres to do calculations and things like that, and still use a very nice SDL that has, in this case, it's get popular tags. So my GraphQL query is popular tags, and it's already done all that calculation for you on the service side, in the database, in the query, for window functions and things like that. Similar, it's just got some basic stats. How are we doing? How many tweets have we done today? Oh, good, we're up 7%, and we're up from that. Over the last 7 days, we're down a little bit, and it's calculating all these things, and you can link out to the articles that come from that. Again, this is custom SQL that's done there. We can do some charts. This is squished, obviously, because my screen is here, but we can pull down, and we can see here that we're doing query period total stats. So we're using, again, GraphQL to assemble the data that's coming back, and we can just pass that to a chart library, which I can show. It's Nevo. And you can see here that there's some mentions. We're slowing down a little bit. People are busy doing other stuff. And then here's just another example of a chart, which is a bump chart, which shows that, the kind of the trajectory of Cabernet in this case, or Shiraz has a nice little strange trajectory. And each of these things are what have been come out as priorities, and those are already extracted out of the things that get enriched by the various services that I'm using. So yeah, so we can look at just some very basic tweets. These are some tweets that have just come up. We take a look at one. This is a new one. So this is a tweet about the Wine Star Awards. I have no idea this. And we can take a look at you can see that I've extracted certain tags. So grape growing is a tag, a concept, Silverado Farmer. viticulture Bordeaux. If we look at one of the Bordeaux's, we can see, how often has Bordeaux been showing up. Bordeaux is actually made up of a bunch of different things. Bordeaux means Bordeaux and claret and wine. Viticulture is just viticulture. Winemaking, probably just winemaking. But again, you can see that we can extract this information and use it to do some nice charting. We do the same for the articles. So this tweet mentioned a whole bunch of stuff, but it actually linked to an article. And we'll, at the same time as we fetch the tweet, we'll take the article and we'll enrich the article to give a nice description, a nice summary, where it came from, the categories, and then the various priorities and tags that came up. So there were no tweets with Chateau, but here's the one article, and then we've seen it once, so not terribly popular. But if we go back to like we'll go to Italian wine, we've seen Italian wine 15 times, etc. So again, doing some things. So that's tweets. Also, we're going to look at jobs. So all this one is running off of various active and so this is about scheduled to run. So there's a few jobs here. There's a job that goes to fetch articles, and you'll see this chart has changed recently, and I'll explain why. We had some nice information about duration and all the nice error codes, and now we've just, in the last several days, we just get nice 202s and not a whole lot of information, and I'll go into why. So this one pulls in the stream of articles. This one pulls in the stream of various tweets. This one will run and purge the jobs in repeater because of the fan out process. It creates and spits out lots of jobs. So let's go and find a tweet. Okay, let's find one so I stopped it from running. So let's find a tweet. Because baked oysters. Cool, let's do that. So we can see here that I've got no categories and no tags and no information. So watch down here below as we reprocess. You can see that a whole bunch of stuff just happened. So my little logging says I've scheduled that tweet to happen. It's scheduling it. It's about to call the scheduler. And now there's going to be a job that's in a queue to go do that. And eventually this is going to come back. So let's schedule a couple more and we can come back in a second. So we'll reprocess this guy, and then we'll reprocess, I don't know. Oh, we did the oysters already. Wine news. And then we'll do some articles too. The new wine encyclopedia and wine finance. Okay. So you can see that all of these got scheduled out, and that's why I was doing it locally, so you can see the nice logging. So, okay, there we go. So we'll come back to that while we wait for the jobs to run. So how do we build this? So we built this obviously using Redwood, and it's using a whole bunch of different Jamstack things. From the J side, the JavaScript side, we're using Redwood and Pinot for logging. We're obviously using a bunch of AWS type of tools. We're using date functions to do these nice little today at 248s, things like that. Supabase is doing it for the authentication. I'm using Doppler to manage the environment variables. And I'm using all his stuff to do a lot of the fan outs, to do the retrying and asynchronous processing of the various jobs and scheduling, kind of queuing them and retrying them and making sure that they kind of run from time to time. On the A side, the API side, I'm using diffbot to do some of it's a service that does natural language processing and article extraction. So I can just pass it and we'll see an example here or here. Like here, you'll see that it says enriching article. We can pass diffbot a URL and it will come back with structured data that has the content and the tags and the ontologies that we can then use to analyze. Using Feedly to curate the articles and the feeds and the Twitter accounts. Logflare, you can see here, to do the production logging versus the dev logging, and it's still using the same Pinot library to do that. Netlify obviously is running it and doing the background jobs, which is very new, which is good because I had been using AWS serverless for this in the past, which is why these jobs look different from now. So this is when I started using, and Netlify launched background jobs, and they don't provide information. We'll go and we can talk about that. Prisma, Superbase, using Superbase's Postgres, and Repeater from Rob and Redwood to do the scheduling. And then on the markup side, Tailwind and Nevo for the charts. So let's see, we're back. Let's see, we'll go back. Let's go back to the notifications. So what did I see? What? Okay, I remember Sotheby's Wine. We got a nice update from Sotheby's Wine Encyclopedia. Okay, so now I've got, before, if you remember, it was blank. I didn't know who the author was. I didn't have the description. I have a nice little summary. And now I've got tags that it says, oh, winemaking. So there's now I've got more things about winemaking. So we've come back to that. Again, we can take a look at a priority, and you can see that because of the way it's structured, the Cabernet priority, the Cabernet thing is actually made up of a various different whole bunch of varietals. Cabernet means Cabernet Cortis, Franc, Sauvignon, all that, and those are kind of set up. So that's kind of neat. On the job side, one of the things we can do, we can just go back to the active ones. We can actually set up to clean up, because what happens with Repeater is that the job will run, and then in my case, because it's not a repetitive job, these jobs run all the time, right? Or this job runs, it ran 52 minutes ago, it's about to run at the top of the hour. It runs every hour. But my little fan out jobs, like this one, this one's scheduled, it's just going to run once, because it just has to enrich that tweet once. It doesn't have to do it over and over again. So what happens is that these get backlogged. So we can clean up. And what it does is it runs, and it figured out that it needed to clean up 10 jobs that were completed. So if you were to go log into Repeater, you would see fewer jobs if I had a count here. So that's kind of neat. You can see here, oops. Oh, I ran it on the production thing. Oh, well. So you can see down here, there. So it checked a number of jobs to see if it needed to be deleted, and it deleted the ones that it wanted to, that it needed to. So what works and what's important? Repeater works really well. It works well with the nice functions and some of the libraries that I had for the parsing and the Redwood services. Really important are the kind of the PMAP retry and delay utilities that can ensure that these things run, and when they fail, that they retry and they back off, and they don't pound these third-party services, because these services can only do certain requests per second or per minute. So it's for low level things, run them every second or so, as you're kind of saying, go enrich and fan out. It's really important to sign your functions, because your function is out there way in the open up on Netlify. So if you'll see that this job, like this job here, it's got a bearer token that says I'm allowed to run the function that does the entry stream background, and it only lives for like a very short, well, this is the one that repeats, so this one lives longer, but these other ones that just run a little time, they expire pretty quickly, because you don't want them to keep going. Background jobs for Netlify have been working really well. Some of them run more than 60 seconds. They typically don't run too long, but they can. The transition from AWS serverless to background jobs went really easily. Logflare and Pinot, this is really important. There is no visibility when you run these background jobs. Like your functions, you get your function logs in Netlify, but you have no idea what's going on. You can't monitor it very easily. You can't really use the Netlify function stuff. So it provides great visibility into that. Also, you can see here that my tokens in my logs are redacted. So Pinot does some nice redaction. So I'm not spewing my authentication tokens for these functions here in that if I don't want to, which is really nice. Charting using raw SQL with Prisma and the SDL for these bump charts has really worked. Prisma upserts is really important because especially when you're doing lots of things, you may be doing things twice, and instead of doing crates that collide because of obviously unique keys and stuff, you can prevent the data loss and collisions that way. What could be better? This stuff is really annoying, that you've got no visibility into the completion of these jobs anymore. You can see older jobs down here. I was getting information back, and I was saying this was taking 2.6 or seconds to run that job. Now I just get from Netlify, thank you, you ran 8 milliseconds, but I get nothing back from that. So that needs to be better, and there's some ways we can do that. Log client, so that Redwood can support custom log clients, Pinot and Logflare is really work. Having some more patterns to schedule these things out would work. Polling versus subscriptions. So like I use the Apollo polling to poll this every 5 minutes or so, but it would be nicer to have some way to figure out how to get notification updates back. It's not a great way, but yeah, you can see that. So okay, so baked oysters, we updated that one. Now you can see that it came back with some categories and it got prioritized as wine. Okay, not so interested. Or maybe oysters didn't come up here yet. Ideas for how there's, Netlify could do some webhooks like they do for identity on forms and deploy to send stats back. Or every function that is a background job could at the very end kind of report back to, again, another function that then says, hey, this function returned some information, and then you can do something with it. Basically like a webhook, but not that Netlify sends, but that your own function sends. You're basically doing the same thing. Again, pluggable log services, maybe adding upsert to the CRUD to make it crude. So that there's an update and an upsert, because that's very useful. And then after just seeing Aldo's thing, I would really like to see, I could see this being useful, because if I look at my functions here, I can see that I've got GraphQL and NLP and the sign payload, but since I know that these are all background functions, organizing them as like jobs or background stuff would be neat, because they're just a little different. How would Redwood make it possible? It's got the framework, it's got the sides, it's got the services structure. It basically gives you the structure so you don't have to do anything. And effectively, like I said, effectivity, okay. The functions have become a job side, pretty much, sort of, together with Repeater. And then, the STL and GraphQL with cells really made the chart stuff really easy. So that's about it. Sorry, that was a little bit longer.
DT, this is amazing. Your experiment puts all of my experiments to shame. This is fantastic. I'm glad we recorded this, and we'll make sure we get your slides and more information up.
Yeah, I'm going to put that up on...
yeah, we'll take care of Dom.
I'm going to take this about page and probably put that stuff here. Okay, because nobody needs lorem ipsum stuff, right?
Well, yeah, make sure there's some links on this. Dom is going to be helping out to post a recap. He's been following along as well. We're a little over. We were gonna stop at the hour. Let's take another 5 minutes though. No, we're doing great. This was amazing, and I just thank everyone for all the time they put into this. Thank you for organizing this. You have so much complexity going on. There's just a lot to learn from what you did. So thank you for the amazing documentation. This is really really great to see. And now I'm thinking about Cabernet Franc. So. Okay.
I actually have to go because I've got another call. So how do I get
it? Okay. Well, Danny's question. We'll come back.
Actually, I should be a.
Well, you know what? Let's do this. We can take that to the point. You got it? Okay. We'll just go 5 minutes here. Do you have an example? Do you have examples of capturing errors for inserting with duplicated unique keys? In particular, I don't want to upsert.
You don't want to upsert.
That's Danny's question.
So what I did before I did the upsert was I just did a create and caught the exception, and then did an update, which is like 2 calls, right? The other thing I did was then the other thing I did was a find one to see if it existed, and then either did a create or exception. And so those is either 3 calls or 2 calls. So upsert was actually not too bad. And if we look at one, the code's not ridiculous. So let's take a look at.
And you were not sharing your screen.
I know.
Okay.
Let's say, but in any case, the yeah, there's no upsert sounds worse than it is. It really works out. It really works out pretty well. It's easier to write than Postgres SQL, like SQL upsert, where you have to do the whole on trigger or on update on conflict or whatever. You just literally do where is the key, and you can use compound keys, which is really important, which is kind of neat. And then you either do a create or an update, and that's it.
Okay. You really pushed Prisma to the performance limit. Was that why you switched over to upserts? I think you found some things.
No, the upsert was because, well, to be honest, the way I was doing the kind of fan outs, they were colliding more than they should have, and there's a better way to do it. But yeah. Okay.
All good. DT, thank you. All right, so DT is another one of our community leads, and he is very helpful and active across the forums, across the chat. If you have any questions about this, you can find him most every day, or at least every other day on the forums, and I know he'd love to talk about this. He's been documenting all this as he goes. He's been really active helping the community to learn, and it's just really been a pleasure to get to know you, DT. So thank you. This is awesome, as Danny just said, and I think yeah, I think that closes us off. How did he close? We don't know how. Thank you all for coming. Apologies for running a little bit long. We will be posting a recap in the forums about this with some links. We'll also have the video once we get it processed. We'll post that up to our YouTube channel. Thank you. It's really a pleasure to build Redwood with you all. If this is your first time, if you're new to Redwood and the Redwood community, please come say hi, drop into the forums. You can find me in all the places as the David, and there's so many other people that will be welcoming you and would love to help you get started with Redwood. And yeah, it's making others successful with Redwood is what makes Redwood successful. And that's why the community has just been such an amazing place to get started. So thank you all. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.